Future-Proof is sponsored by Learn Smart Academy, online revision courses for GCSE and A-Level. All your revision in one place, organised for you, interactive and game-changing.
Hello and welcome back from the break. Thank you for joining me, Sarah Hopwood, as I continue these programmes, Future-Proof, looking at how we can, just prepare better for the future and navigate the uncertain landscape that's in front of us. And today I'm talking about how to beat the gremlins. And the gremlins are those kind of negative voices. Before now, I've almost had a picture myself of like a parrot that's on my shoulder and constantly speaking negatively into me, or if you want to think of something physical, something that just keeps on pecking at you. And gremlins can do that. And the thing is obviously all of us just want to get rid of those gremlins and to, if you like, be able to see a vision in front of us, a horizon, hope, a light at the end of the tunnel, a sense of peace. One of the biggest things as human beings that we need is to feel peaceful, to know that we are loved and to know that we are good enough. And if you wanted to kind of put a job description on the gremlin is its job description is to stop you from feeling peace, unconditional love, acceptance, knowing that you're good enough. That's the job. And so we need to manage that and kind of kick it into touch. So I was saying everybody has gremlins, and even when we look at people who supposedly have a load of success in life, how are they dealing with their gremlins? Because they will have them, but are they managing them any better than us? And if they are, what tools could they be using? One, I would say, and I talked about it in the first half, is about serving and giving, keeping our minds off of ourselves, looking out rather than looking in is a very good way to stop, if you like, the gremlins getting a hold on us. I think also talking, and through lockdown it's been very, very difficult sometimes for people to have those relationships of being able to just share something that usually might seem insignificant, but just by sharing you can kind of get rid of it. But when we're not able to do that, the so-called insignificant things that you think, oh, that's not much of a problem, they can like build and manifest in our minds. There are other ways. I've known people who have taken up drawing and painting as ways of getting out, if you like, what is in them, and also writing, poetry, maybe recording something onto just a mobile, I've got a Zoom. It was called Zoom before the electronic Zoom, but other things like that, and just committing, if you like. Key thing is getting it out. And that's, that's the secret to a lot of things. Get it out of here. This is not a reservoir to hold everything and for the world to just have very little of what's going on in here. Getting it out can really help beat the gremlins. And I was talking how I co-presented with Sally Gunnan, and she was talking about how she beat the gremlins and how she identified the importance of our self-talk and how we can actually trump some of the kind of negative chatter that can go on in our head. And remember, we listen to ourselves more than we listen to anybody else on this planet. So watch your self-talk, because we're wired to think that we're always right, whatever you're repeatedly telling yourself, be it through a gremlin or not, you'll actually believe it, and then you'll want it to be right because we're wired to say, see, I told you so, I am right. So really watch that. And I think we can follow a lot from athletes, headphones before they're going to big events and what have you, and in there they have got all sorts of things, whether it is music or positive affirmations that are coming through. The whole purpose of that exercise is to beat the gremlins. I had the privilege of meeting Nobby Stiles, and I was saying all the people that I've met actually have come through serving in some way or another. So I just want to endorse that, to inspire you. And what was wonderful here is I was asked to actually open up the whole dinner, and the Grand was absolutely full of guests waiting to hear Nobby speak, and I was asked to say grace, and that was a huge privilege to stand there and just say grace, have a quiet moment of thanks. thanks before the event continued. And also another example here is find exemplars who do it well. And I am sticking to the sports theme here. And this is when we had board meetings in the Sky Suite or Sky Lounge, whatever it was called. And, you know, look at what Brighton and Hove have done in the football leagues, from moving to a new premises to, I know recently, I don't follow it as much as my husband, but I know that they've just had a very good win again. And, you know, find how did those football players get to where they are now? And the obvious answer is they basically hung on to somebody's coattails. They found people who inspired them. And if you spoke to them, they would then say, I remember watching, I remember going, I remember hearing the story of, or what have you. And it's tied up with neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. It's mirroring and matching. It's kind of fake it till you become it. And in their heads, they were playing for Brighton and Hove long before they actually ended up doing it. So they created the story, the scenario twice. All that can help keep the gremlins away. Did some of these young athletes have people telling them they couldn't do it, or hearing their gremlins saying, you can't do this, you're not good enough, so-and-so's better than you? Of course they did. So they would have had inspirational people around them, inspiring them, and indeed, of course, good leaders as well. But in this leadership role, we all know that things don't go according to plan. And here you might think that I'm talking about the athlete here. I'm not. I'm talking about a time that there was actually, it was the Brighton and Hove Golf Day, and I was speaking in the evening. And by the time it was my turn to speak, everybody was well tanked. People had come off of the course quite early on, let's say from 4 or 5 o'clock. I wasn't speaking till 7, 8, 9 at night. And it was really quite challenging. And halfway through speaking, I completely lost where I was. I was disorientated. And somebody very, very kindly, because I just paused and stopped, and somebody very kindly actually started to clap as if to say, oh, you can go now, don't worry, you're fine. And the old Sarah would have been so grateful for that. Get me off as soon as possible. I've messed up, and I would have gone and kind of hung in the toilet somewhere. But the newer version, where the gremlins are there, I, if you like, identified there was a gremlin thing going on. I was distracted, my confidence, and I had a wobble, for want of a better thing. So what I did, so the new Sarah, who didn't let the gremlin win, I just stood there and I said, I'm sorry, I'll pick up in just a moment, just give me a moment. And I stood there, I picked up, and I was absolutely fine. So, you know, this is where you can start kicking those gremlins into touch, and I really want to inspire you to do the same. Cricket. And you know what was wonderful here was hearing the stories and the humour. And you know, these guys are constantly dealing with gremlins. We've watched them, you know, the whole world sees them. And sometimes I think we could argue they might have it tougher than many, because when we go through difficult times, when we mess up, when the gremlins then are saying, see, look at what you did and what have you, maybe that's just internal, maybe that's just ourselves, we're the only ones that know we've done it, maybe just our family, or maybe it's just our little local community. When you play out on the big world stage, you have got everybody watching you, and we all know, we've all seen this human behaviour that can be so destructive. We turn heroes into people very quickly, and then not only do we then want to take that, if you like, status, for want of a better word, away from them, people then go in like piranhas trying to destroy them. So the question again is, how do they cope with their gremlins? And I know, because I've actually talked more actually about the women's game of cricket, that the positive psychology and just how to tools, if you like, from stopping, from recognising, from managing, from communication to habits and to that self-talk, have really enabled people to deal with their issues. But you know, panic attacks, huge panic attacks can feature in the world of sport. So this was a great privilege to meet these guys and to hear the speeches. Great to see them all getting on so well. And that's the last thing I want to say as I conclude this program is if at all possible, do not do this on your own. Where is your team? Where is your sort of right-hand person? What kind of supporting network do you have around you? And when you've answered that, and remember, we are always the average of the top 5 people we spend our time with. So if you're not happy with things that are happening to you, just look at the top 5 people you spend your time with, and then you might get some signposting as to why things are the way that they are. So know who those top 5 people are, double check that they are the people that you want around you, and if they are, then use them, lean on them, and be a support to them as well. Always remember, it is a two-way relationship. Building rapport is a bridge so information can go backwards and forwards, and that means that there is give and take on both sides. And lastly, don't forget, when we share our stuff, it gives other people permission to share.